Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a special episode on the Leeds Fan Channel. No, I'm not by myself in my basement this time, everybody. I've found a friend, Ellis Platten from Away Days. All of you guys will be very much aware of this gentleman on my right, left. I don't know where you are. But yeah, we're going to be discussing Leeds United today. It's great to do this because Ellis on his channel does a lot of general content that you'll all enjoy, and I definitely enjoy as well. But specifically, some of you may not know that he is a massive Leeds United fan, as you can tell by the absolutely fantastic jersey he has on. Ellis, how you doing, mate? All good?
All good, yeah. I think it's always weird going into a playoff week. It's like really interesting. It's like, I don't know. I feel like at the start of the season I was sort of fine with playoffs, and about a month ago I'd have been devastated. But Wembley, just get us to Wembley. Just get us to Wembley and everything's fine.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess you know the whole thing of supporting Leeds. It's funny because we've got a guy on the channel who resides in America, and he started becoming a Leeds fan in like 09-10. You know, when we went up through League One with Beckford, Becchio, etc. Your era as well. And he doesn't understand the whole superstition thing when it comes to Leeds United. You know, when it comes to the playoff losses, when it comes to losing to certain teams, he just doesn't get it. He thinks it's a bit of a loser mentality. But to be honest, Ellis, as Leeds fans, it's sort of indoctrinated into us to always look at superstition and historical context and things that have happened to us before, isn't it, as Leeds fans?
Yeah, even like this year, I was like, the only team we've done the double over was Norwich. I was like, the exact same thing happened with Derby. I was like, oh no. And like, I was like, it would be so us to bottle it from here. But I don't know. Like, I think the problem is, right, like, I think that can breed through to the players as well. Like, it's like, we haven't worn an away kit all season because we didn't win a couple of games. The players just haven't worn it. It's like, that's mental. Like, that is so idiotic. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
And like, yeah. But I don't know. I'm weird. Like, like, Twitter's been doom and gloom this last couple of weeks, but I'm pretty confident for the playoffs, to be honest. Which is weird. Yeah. We have fallen off a cliff, but there's a long separation to Sunday. And I think every player in that squad wants to be in the Premier League, and they're just better than the other players. So
I think that's the thing, Ellis. It's like it's such a confusing one because I sort of got into this season, and you know, like when we touch on those superstition things, it's like, you know, you beat Millwall, and that was one of the things for me, Ellis, because in my lifetime, I think I've seen us beat Millwall away once, like Ross McCormack in like 2011 or something like that under McDermott or something, and I was thinking to myself, like, we never beat Millwall. And at the start of the season, you beat Millwall 3-0. I'm like, oh, okay, that shouldn't happen. And then you go 9 wins on the bounce, and then you go unbeaten in 15. And I'm a little bit like, this doesn't normally happen. Like, what's going on here? So you think, okay, we're mentality monsters. And it's like, okay, maybe this sort of negativity that I have ingrained in me from years of supporting Leeds United is slowly turning around like the Titanic. But then post-international break, Ellis, I mean, we've done so much content on it, mate. But I cannot put my finger on it. Is it the fact that Wales have just been dumped out of obviously those, you know, the internationals, and obviously we've got a big Welsh contingent? Is it the pressure that's got to them because of the weight of the Leeds United badge? Is it Daniel Farke not being able to manage youngsters when it comes to the crux moment of the season? It is just been, I can't put my finger on it. And you've just had to analysis pre and post, and I've got no answers, mate. I don't know what's happened.
It's one of them ones, yeah. The Wales thing, like, as soon as Dan James missed that penalty, I remember I was chatting to my friends, and I was like, "Ow!" I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Oh damn!" Because yeah. Also, we don't have a 10 other than Jorginho. He's not a natural 10. He had surgery, and then he hasn't been the same player since. It hasn't. It's been really weird to see. The only person who's really came back post international break and has been good as Farke, because like the fans have loved Farke, but even. I think missing Pascal has been big. I've missed him for a while now. We were on the run. A lot of the run was without him. But I think ideally we move Ampadu to the middle right, and you have Pascal and Rodon back at centre halves. But what I will say is, going into the playoffs, we have a spine of a team that have done this before. Like we have Bamford, Connor Roberts has gone up with Burnley, Ampadu, Rodon, James have done the qualifiers of Wales. Have qualified for 2 competitions with them. So it's not like it's. Glenn Kamara's got to a Europa League final. Like, it's not like we don't have experience of big games. Yeah. Whereas like Norwich have experience as well. But it does boil down to the playoffs. It's like you need moments players to win you them. Like look at the Derby game. They had Mount, they had Tomori, like two better players who on paper were better than anyone in that squad other than maybe Pablo. Like that's and Calvin. Yeah. But Mount has obviously gone on to have a better career than either of them, sadly. I just think moments players win you games. And if we get to Wembley, which is a bloody wide pitch, which is exactly how we play, I just think we'd be fine. I just think we would.
Do you think as well, Alice? You know, we've got Norwich in these two games. Do you think there's something to the fact that we've beaten them twice? Obviously, psychologically, when you look at West Brom and the fact that they've taken 4 points off us, and obviously Southampton, crazily enough, have done the double. I don't think any team's done the double on us. I think they were the first.
Yeah.
Obviously have beaten us with that regard. It almost feels like right now, and I'm doing the superstition thing with Leeds United where I'm thinking this won't happen, but these two are almost the perfect games for Leeds going into it. It's that psychological thing. You've beaten them twice, lads. It's a young squad. Farke's obviously been there. There's a little bit of a connection there, but I think I'd be more worried right now if we were to play Southampton, especially off the back of the weekend.
Yeah. And also it's worth noting that, I mean, to be fair, we didn't play well in either of the games against Norwich. We played terribly in both of them. It's actually the one game where Farke threw on everyone, and it worked, the away game. I think we had one point we just had like Ampadu back by himself. It was mental, I think. But I think it's also worth noting Norwich fans don't like Wagner. Like they've came off a loss going into the playoffs to Birmingham. Like it's very weird with them. It feels like they've had an okay season, but the fans don't like the football. It's very negative. West Brom have been in terrible form. They've scraped in on the last day. Southampton, yeah, they've been up and down all season. They probably are on paper the same as us. Like I think if we get to the final and we play Southampton, it's a 50-50 shootout. But it also wouldn't surprise me if Corberan does a job on them. So it's like we just need to we can only do our job. And I think we've got the best of the fixtures we could have had to do our job. And if we don't do it, then we don't deserve to go up.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of it as well, this is like when people are thinking about next season, it's the unknown. If we had this guarantee that if someone was to say to you and me right now, look, 1 or 2 players are going out, 1 or 2 players are going to be coming in, and you're going to keep the same nucleus. You're just going to sprinkle a little bit of quality and experience, like Farke's spoken about. Going to lose a couple. We all know who those couple are probably going to be. You know, collateral wise, you're going to do okay. And it's another season with Farke, another pre-season. And that's it. You do, as a fan, you'd almost take that going into next season. I think the big thing at the minute, mate, is it's the unknown. And I think that's why a lot of fans, and we know it gets harder. Obviously, parachute payments reduce. Another season, you've got the 3 coming down who are almost prepped for championship football anyway. I think it is that sort of, oh, what's going on here sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's also terrifying the thought of if us and Southampton both don't go up. Say one of West Brom and Norwich goes up. From our perspective, it's like, oh no. Because Burnley are going to come down and they're a very competent championship side already. So with Luton recruited to do exactly this. Sheffield United, surely they're not yo-yoing. But no. I think on the core of it, it's a weak championship next season, but I don't want to be in it because I think the reality is, like, looking at it just logically, we struggle to bring Rodon in permanently if we don't go up. I think he likes it here, but he also is good enough to be in the Prem. You probably keep Ampadu, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was interested in him. Same with Archie. I think Archie loves the club, but if we get 40 million for a homegrown player, it's very difficult to say no to it. Gnonto will be off. Some of it will be off. Some of it will probably goes if we go up, it feels like recently. And Jorginho probably goes, although I don't know if he's played himself out of a move recently. And then we need a striker because none of them. I know obviously there's a big clamoring for Joseph to come in, but other than Chelsea game, he hasn't done enough. He hasn't done enough for all this clamoring to be justified. And he's young, he's raw, he's going to be great one day, but we actually play better with Bamford in the side every time. And we won't get rid of him. So, like, we're such a weird fan base. But I just think the reason I'm so keen to go up this season is because we have to, really, because we're not going to be as strong next season. We just won't.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do, mate, is do this thing where, like, I cushion everything for people, which I feel like I have to do on this channel. I have to just be that sort of like memory foam pillow for the fan base. Like, everything will be all right, even though I'm hammering them at the same time. But yeah, I completely agree, mate. I think next season, the problem is you've got 3 teams who, I was just looking at some of the Sheffield United squad when they played Forest the other day, and it's Hamer, It's Ben Brereton Diaz, it's Archer. These players, championship level, are going to do well. They're probably not. There's an argument they're not Premier League players. There's almost like there should be like a mid-table between both of them. And you're probably going to get Rob Edwards coming down with Luton. You're going to get Company coming down with Burnley, likely. So it is. I think the division overall is going to be weaker, but you're probably going to get three sides who, are likely going to be, competing for those top 3-4 places, really, as we've seen, Ellis, with this season. And the longer, as we know with Leeds United fans, the longer you're down there, the tougher it gets. But what we do have to say is it's a good framework now, isn't it, Ellis, with the 49ers? It feels stable, it feels calm. And from previous regimes, when it's been tweeting and when it's been quite vitriolic at points, it feels right now that sort of no talk is sort of good news, and they feel like a good sort of establishment behind the club at this moment in time, which gives me a little bit of credence and confidence, I think.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the ownership. I think in terms of what's been done this season so far has been really solid. I think they've made smart decisions, like even bringing in Joel Pirro was the logical thing to do. Every signing's been logical. Obviously, not every signing is going to be a raving success, and obviously it might work out for Pirro eventually. I thought he played well at the weekend. Hope he hasn't played his way into the lineup for this weekend if Bamford's fit, because I think we do play better with him.
I don't think he will have done, mate, somehow.
Yeah. How do you feel going into the playoffs? Because the fan base is so negative on Twitter, and it is exhausting. Like, there's a reason I wanted our first leg to be.
Ellis, you need to block me on Twitter, mate. Just say it.
No, we are the only club in England where I'd rather the first leg was at Elland Road, not the second leg, because if we go into it level at any point of that second leg, and Elland Road is terrible for this. Like, we can win the club games. Like, Leicester was a great example of that. I was there that day. Definitely the fan base won, but we also lose games for the team. I'm certain of it, which is, I'm going to be getting pelted for it, but it's true. Like, I go to games everywhere in the world for a job. There's no stadium in the world like it. There literally isn't. There's no stadium that can just turn like that, and you can feel it. Like, you felt it on Saturday when Ipswich scored. It was just gone, like, straight away. And it must be so weird as a player with how bipolar it is. It's properly weird.
I think, to be honest, mate, all you need to do, and I was there that night, I'm not sure if you were, when it was the Derby semi-final, it was just, as soon as the mistake happened at halftime, obviously when it happened with Kiko and Cooper, and I can't remember who went through, to be honest with you, but it was either Jack Marriott or whoever, Mount, someone went through. You could almost feel a sort of, like, you could hear a pin drop. It was, and the players felt it. All of them felt it, and they came out in the second half and they looked so nervous. And listen, Ellis, when we went up and we were unbelievable under Marcelo Bielsa, there was no fans there. There was, and that's not just to say that we wouldn't have gone up, but with or without fans there. And obviously that season in the Premier League, no fans there. Bamford scoring 17 goals, no fans there. And there is a massive pressure at Elland Road. And I agree with you. It can be the best ground in the world and the worst ground in the world. And it's such an interesting point you bring up there. And I'm glad you have done, because I didn't have it written down or anything like that. But, what would you rather? Would you rather it be at Carrow Road first, or would you rather it be at Elland Road first? I mean, like you say, mate, coming back. I mean, I was on another show today and I was saying it's, we get a point down there, we come back, and it's in our hands, and it is in our hands, but it's Elland Road. So it feels like a 50-50 split, because on the night, Ellis, it will be nerves. There'll be support, but it will be nerves, mate.
We could be 3-0 up and go from the first leg and go 1-0 down at home, and there'll be people around me going, "Oh no, this is it," because we've been so hurt as a fan base.
Yeah.
Especially like our generation, right? Like, my first season was 03-04. So, like, the only fun I've ever had is Bielsa, which I think is why I'm more defensive of him than, I mean, obviously not. We had Grayson, and the Monk team was all right, but like mainly it's the Bielsa era, right? But like, we've been so hurt constantly, and with Leeds are falling apart again. What other club has that charm? Because it happens so often. And just doing a Hibs in Scotland is the only equivalence, but we have it. It happens so ridiculously consistently. It is crazy. But like, what is the point in us going into the playoffs with a defeatist attitude as a fan base? There's no point. Like, we may as well go in and be like, "Oh, hang on a minute. We have a squad with an Italian international. We have one of the best youngsters in the world on the wing. We have, like, one of the best young midfielders in the world. We have Glenn Kamara, who's incredibly experienced. We have Ethan Ampadu, Connor Roberts, Joe Roden, who are Welsh internationals. Dan James off the bench is a joke. Junior Firpo, all right. But like we should be positive. Why are we not being positive? Like I know the last few weeks have been dreadful, but it's the same side that went 10 on the spin by winning. Like that side still exists. And like as a fan base, it's easier to be negative than positive. But it's not going to help anything by being negative. So you may as well be positive until you have a reason not to be. So go to Carroll Road Sunday, be positive. And then Thursday, hopefully we're booking tickets to Wembley.
I think you're right, mate. I think a lot of the time it all comes back to it, Ellis. It all comes back to, I don't know if it's negativity, I think, but I think from a lot of fans, it's exactly what you've just said and exactly what we've been speaking about throughout the entire show. It's being hurt. It's like you've been constantly hurt in a relationship, but yet you go back to it. You go back to that thing that you've been hurt by. It makes no sense, but you do it anyway. And Leeds have just got a tendency over our lives to hurt us. But you are right in a sense of just going into it with a bit of a free mind. I mean, I'll be honest, going into it, and you asked me an initial question at the start, like, how confident are you? I said today that quality, caliber-wise, I'm extremely confident. I'm very confident because on a one-off game with anyone, we can blow them out the water. I mean, you look at that. I mean, one that I always point to was that Ipswich game at Elland Road when they couldn't touch the ball. They could not. We absolutely battered them. It should have been more than 4. It should have been 5, 6, 7. It doesn't matter right now. Ipswich are promoted. They're in the Premier League. It doesn't matter that we've done the double over them and Leicester. It doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to say is the caliber of the squad is there. The quality is there. It's up here, Ellis. This is the big problem with them. And I don't know. I don't know now if the manager, because I try to look at evidence of what's happened previously. Daniel Farke has been up as a champion twice. Can he do it in the playoffs? That's something we're going to learn as a fan base going forward right now. And I think a lot of what we were speaking about just previously, that unknown filters into a lot of that negativity about next season.
Yeah, I'm really weird in that sense as well, because like I think even if we go up, I'd like to change the manager, which is
okay.
Because like I live in Norwich, I literally can see Carroll Road from my flat.
Yeah.
They love the man, but he's got no plan B, is what the Norwich fans said as soon as we appointed him. Doesn't make changes till it's too late and cannot motivate a squad, which is not great going into playoffs. This is just a theory of fans. I don't know how true it is. Yeah. But the no plan B thing we can vouch for because we've seen it all season. How often has a sub made a difference to a game for us? Like, very rarely. Yeah. Dan James maybe a couple of times. That's because he's just very, very good at this level of football. The fact that Dan James and Yonto are having to alternate who starts shows the embarrassment of quality that our squad actually is. Like, it's ridiculous we have both James and Yonto as options at this level. Whether we go up and they're any good is another thing. Obviously, Yonto did it in the Prem. But I think I would rather just go up and everything's fine. Because imagine just what I can't stop thinking and imagining is just 40,000 fans in the Leeds end. We go up and we're all singing Leeds are falling apart again. Just like, back at them. Just that's what I'm envisaging. And the problem is with this football club is a lot of the time you just imagine and you don't get it. But just for what? Like, I just think I've just had a feeling all season that would be fine. And I know it hasn't worked out automatically because you then get the stress of the playoffs where it is, people say it's a lottery. It's not. Consistently, the team that finished third go up more than any other team. I think it's 30% of the time the team that finished third go up. And then like it's 17. And was like, all the team that sneaks in go up? No, statistically they don't. People just like to say things. Like I think it's like 17% of the time the team that goes sixth go up. So the reason is we finished on a 17 or 13, a lot more points than Norwich. We were 3 places higher than them. Because over a course of a 46 game season, we'd be much better than them. And obviously the Derby thing happened. There was a lot more difference to that as well. The only narrative there is here is Norwich have the Farke thing. That doesn't really affect anything to me. Like, there's not bad blood there. He just managed them. Like, it's not the same thing. He's not their Bielsa. He's not their Klopp. He just did well there.
So it's interesting that, Ellis. So if we were to, so you're saying that if we were to go up, you wouldn't continue with Farke. If we were to stay in the Championship next season, hypothetically, which won't happen, obviously, because you've given us a fantastic rallying call there. But if we are to stay in the Championship, would you stick with Farke in the Championship as well?
No. Because I think if we don't go up, I know obviously, right, this is one where it's maybe more controversial, and I concede that this is probably one that is going to be a Marmite take. With the squad we have, I know the start of the season was rough. on the position we found ourselves in the last 2 months, it is not good enough that we haven't gone up if we don't go up, because the squad is ridiculous. I think we'll look at this team in a few years' time. It'll be one of them, how was this team in the Championship teams? It's a joke. It is ridiculous. The only thing we've missed all season is maybe a 9, but we also have an ex-England international. Bamford did get an England cap. We also have the person who was one of the best goal scorers in the league last season in Joel Perot. And we also have the attacker's a joke, the midfield's a joke. And there is no justification for not going up, and it would be a failure.
I'm not sure how to take that. I mean, you had me on board, but then you just started calling Pat Bamford an England international. I don't know where you lost it.
Is he or is he not someone who has an England cap?
Factually, yeah. I guess we're gonna have to call David Nugent an England international as well. But yeah, it's interesting, Matt. I think it's one of those topics, isn't it? I feel with Farke, I don't know why, but is it just continuity? Is it maybe a tactical stubbornness? Is it? I don't know. Is it the fact we're in the Championship and we're doing well? People, you see it a lot, and you'll probably see it a lot on your Twitter as well, or when you hashtag LUFC. People seem to, when they're talking about Farke, they mention Bielsa. And I think, I do wonder if it's just the fact that there's maybe some evidence that's sticking with the manager. You know, he's going to give you a more stable squad, a more stable mentality, a more stable philosophy. And if you are chopping and changing all the time, that could be problematic. But it's so interesting you've said that, because you're the first person I've spoken to, really, apart from close family members and friends, who, you know, would publicly say that. And it is interesting. I guess it's with the squad, it is problematic, because I do agree with you. I think it's one of the best squads the Championship will ever see. And I think there has been some, we have to be honest, I think there is some criticism that needs to go his way, maybe with the timings of substitutions. Ellis, you know, you've mentioned the no plan B, which was the exact same as what we're speaking about at the start, the 4-2-3-1, which we saw at Norwich. You know, Pookie spearheading it, but he wouldn't move away from that, would he? Is there any sort of thing in your mind that's saying give him another season? If you give him another season, then it'll come good?
Well, yeah, the beauty of that is there's people who are involved in the decision making of the club that know more about football than me. So it's like you hope they would be making more competent decisions than that. But I think, like, also the Norwich thing, he was very, very fortunate to have Emi Buendia as well, and he had Oliver Skipp in the Championship as well. So it was a very decent Norwich side that they had there. I'm not against it. I think, like I said, once again, it was a smart appointment by the 49ers. There was no one else we linked with that I thought would have came in and done a bet, like, was a better option. So I can't even say that. Like, who else were we even linked with at the time? It was like some worrying links other than him. It took a while to get done, but I think, I don't know. Because I can't tell you who I'd bring in. So what am I to do? Like, so it's just more like I feel quite strongly that this side should be getting out of the league, and it won't be the same side next season. It'll be a weaker side. So if you can't get this side out of the league, how do we then go again next season with a weaker side? Whereas with the Bielsa side, we actually got Ben White and made the squad. He's replaced Janssen with White and signed Helder Costa. So once again, smart signings, but it was a stronger side he got the next season. We just then didn't strengthen it for the next 3 years.
Yeah, IPW133 says, just remember, Bielsa built a squad to take to the Premiership. Farke inherited a ready-made Premiership squad. I mean, he's not blown it yet, IPW. I do have to say that, and I think me and Ellis are very aware of that he hasn't blown it yet. But I think these are big games for him. And, you know, I think as well, Ellis, you know, talking quite straight, I think obviously the 49ers like him. They do really, really like him. I do wonder how they'll feel, and give me your opinions of this. Of course, they're a very sort of steady business owner, which they're proving that in the States, which is good. Calm, collected. They don't make too many reactionary decisions. But you do wonder with this. Let's say hypothetically, worst case scenario, we lose to Norwich, and it's a deserved loss, like we've seen in the last 2 games. With the QPR, the Southampton, and then the ending to the season, do you expect the 49ers maybe to be quite ruthless with Daniel Farke there as well? Or do you think, look, second season?
I don't know, because it feels like he was brought in with like a 2. Well, I remember the initial things were like, he's got 2 seasons to get Leeds.
Yeah.
So I feel like they'd probably stick to that. And like I said, it's very Leeds to finish on 90 points and not go up. So objectively, if you'd have said at the start of the season, you're going to get 90 points, I think the fan base would have been like, that's a good season. Like, but obviously things have transpired the last month. And obviously the thing is with football, and this is the problem with it, goalposts move all the time. Like the goalposts have moved because we were in a position where if we'd have just won against, I know obviously you reflect on things, but we dropped points against Rotherham and Huddersfield. Like that is ridiculous to have done. So we dropped points against this Rotherham side that went down, probably one of the worst sides the Championship has ever seen, is unbelievable. I know we should have been a penalty on James in that game, and it was but I'd rather have no VAR.
And Birmingham, mate, 3 to Birmingham.
We lost to Birmingham. Like, was it Jutkovic got the winner?
Yeah, last minute.
How bad that is. Like, it's a shambles. And I get that it was a weaker side at the time. We hadn't fully strengthened. But was Sinistera might have been in the squad that day? I can't remember. It was the start of the season was really weird. I still have to remember that Sinistera played for us this season. But I don't know. Like the performances that we've had, like the Blackburn home game was like, oh God. And even the wins we picked up against Hull and Borough, we didn't play well. I don't remember the last time we played well.
I think a lot of it as well, Ellis. I mean, would you do anything? I'm really interested to hear what you would do, potentially tactically, but also if we're being a bit more finite about it, personnel-wise. I mean, Connor Roberts, massively experienced body, pretty much sent Burnley up last season away at Middlesbrough. Huge experienced body to have right now. In terms of these sort of games, you look at what we would do with Archie Gray. We've played a certain way against Norwich before and got 2 results, albeit you've just said quite correctly. Both times we didn't play well. Norwich first game we're 2-0 down in about 30 minutes, and Gabby Sarah was running the show. What would you do, mate? I mean, you've just spoken about Joseph as well. Bamford, I'm not sure is going to be fit for this one, so let's pretend he's not. What do you think? What do you think needs to change? Because one thing you just mentioned it post international break there, and you were talking about us not deserving games. I'll be honest, Ellis. I think the midfield since post international break has just been like a knife through butter. They have just been non-existent in too many games. What on earth? What would you do to change things up a little bit?
It's really difficult because, like I said, the obvious answer would be like. There's not an obvious answer, but I want Archie Gray to be in there. Yeah. For me, you have to be starting Connor Roberts at right back in this. He has to be in the playoffs. It's Connor Roberts at right back.
Oh, really? Yeah, you'd stick him in.
If you want to play Byram, but you can't sacrifice Farke because he's actually done really well. I think you have to. You can't drop Gruev. I don't think Gruev. You can't drop him. Can you? I don't know. Although with them, because he's supposed to be in there to stop. His entire thing is to stop play. But our midfield was non-existent against Southampton. It was ridiculous. Like
and QPR, I'd say, mate, as well.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I was watching that on a duck boat tour of Boston. That was fun. I think it's not existed for too long. So I think you'd probably, in an ideal world, Pascal's fit and you start Amper doing Gray for me. But that's not an ideal world. You can't. If there's any way of figuring out how to get Amper in the middle of the park, you have to do it. But you can't. But you can't start Cooper because the fan base will turn instantly.
Would you? We keep coming back to superstition, mate, and what's happened before and nostalgia. But can you realistically, in your opinion, go into a playoff situation, even with what we've seen this season, with Cooper at the back?
No, you can't. So, but also it's like, oh no, we've got Gruev, Archie Gray, and Glenn Kamara as our midfield options. It should be better. The only thing you could do is drop Jorginho and put 3 in the middle. Is all you can do. You can't do that because it's not Farke's system and he won't do it. And I also think with how good Jorginho was before the injury, you have to persist with him. And he's got longer now in between these 2 games. You can't not play him. I think it's really concerning how bad he was at the weekend against Southampton. Like he was really bad. Probably the worst I've seen him for us this season. It was bad.
Is there an argument, Ellis, for, I mean, seeing people in the chat, is there an argument for Cresswell? Or are we not having it?
No, there's not.
No, but
But it's like there would have been at the start of the season. Like he played a season for Millwall last season, but why are we bringing in a right-footed centre half, no nonsense centre half in a system where we play out from the back? Like it doesn't work. I don't get why Farke didn't bring in someone else, and I don't get why Joe Gallart wasn't loaned out. I don't get some of the decisions were made of the young players this season. He has wasted Cresswell and Gallart, but you don't throw Cresswell in now. You just don't. And I don't think you have to start Joel Pereau. You do. You have to. If Bamford's not fit, you can't start Joseph. He's not shown enough other than the Chelsea game. It's just a fact. He hasn't done enough other than the Chelsea game. He hasn't played enough, I know, and he's young and he's raw. He's really exciting. Will probably be a better player than Joel Perot. But right now, you have to trust that you've bought a finisher and hope he finishes a chance or two. We get, although he does really, I don't get what on earth has happened to him. Maybe he's played up. I don't know what's happened, but
to be honest, Alice, I think with the player, I'm not 100% sure he's massively at fault. I think I do wonder why. Maybe he was. I mean, you look at the signing on paper at the start of the season, you think, look, there's us and Southampton in for him, you know, a proven marksman at this level, and you think to yourself, well, that's brilliant. But I do wonder, with all the noise that was happening then, you know, 15 players who went out, it was almost a signing where it was like, look, we need to get this lad in because we need to do something for the fan base, because logic wise, he's never played with a striker, an out-and-out striker like Joel Perot. It's never happened, and he's really not a number 9, a lead number 9. As we've seen, you know, you were there at the weekend. He'll drop into a 10, and he'll almost get in the way of Rutter, and he'll get in the way of an advancing 8 like Kamara sometimes, you know, morphs into, or Archie we've seen this season. He gets in the way, and it's bizarre, mate. It really is bizarre. I don't know why that signing was made, unless it was a PR one, because obviously you should buy an individual for, you know, system reasons, surely.
Yeah, especially considering like the whole Pookie thing for Farke Norwich was because Pookie's pressing as a forward. He's a pressing forward. That's what was amazing about him for them. I also think it's really concerning how we have a midfield that's been played through when it's a defensive-based midfield, considering we've not had a midfielder score all season. That's ridiculous. The centre mid has. Please, if someone's correcting me in the chat now, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm certain none of our centre mids have scored all season.
No, I can tell you for a fact they haven't.
Yeah, Archie's was deflected against Leicester.
Yeah,
but we aren't. We're relying too much on the goals of Somerville, James, and Yonto.
I guess to be honest, as well, Alice, just to add to that point, that comes back to the Plan B thing, doesn't it? Because you were just the entire play is funneling through, you know who.
Yeah, and whereas like, and the fact we didn't, I'm surprised we didn't go for a 10 in January. I don't know if we didn't, it didn't work out. I know obviously the start of the season we went in for a couple of 10s, but it didn't work out. But I didn't know whether I don't know what we were doing. I didn't know whether there was maybe murmurings we were going to recall Aronson or something. I don't know why we didn't go for a 10. Like, what were we doing? Like, why did we think? I know Jorginho's been really good this season. You wouldn't want to replace him, but like he's probably played 50 games of football this season. Like, you're going to need another option. Our 10 option is to drop a striker to 10, and then he's not as good as Jorginho there, and then it's just I don't know what.
I think the salt in the wound as well, Alice. I think a lot of people have said this, you know, because he mentioned, didn't he, in his press conference, he said that I wish I had players like Sam Morsey and Luongo in terms of experience, but I think a lot of fans, and quite rightly so, have maybe been a little bit vexed at the fact that Luke Ayling, who is that experience, you know, and who has done extremely well since he's gone to Middlesbrough, was let go in January. I mean, went to complain about experience and then to let Luke go out in January. It's a bit confusing, isn't it, I guess?
I think we are quite a flip-flop fan base, though, because
that's what this channel's based on, mate.
Let's be honest. No one in the fan base wanted. It was time. It was time for Ayling to go. And but Ellis, is there a point to which, so the point was, if he's complaining about experience this week, because you've just mentioned the January transfer window, and you're quite right to do so, by the way, because you mentioned a number 10. I'd say experience as well, because the manager said that this week. But why would you let an experienced player like Luke Ayling leave then, if that's what you're bothered about, you know? It was difficult as well, because we had the whole team talk rallying around Dallas's retirement, and then we went after that really nice chat from him and just bottled it. I thought that was like, watching as a fan, I was like, oh, that's a moment that's going to really spur the lads to get over the line. But it didn't. I was like, what's happened there? How has that not worked? Like, that is the most you could ever have as a player. But I think it is what it is. We have a very good team of players, and it's up to them to get us up. And if they get us up, they will never feel an atmosphere like it in their careers. They never will. There will never be a louder Wembley than if we go up. And I was there for England, Germany, and that was mental. But if Leeds get promoted at Wembley, it will be the loudest that stadium will ever be.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Joe's in the building and says, Ellis, how much are you selling that top to me for? Ellis has convinced me that this top is in the club shop, apparently.
It is. It's in the club shop, and it's also on Art of Football. It genuinely is.
There you go. Free promotion. There we go. Jason says, Bamford can't be that bad. Doesn't want to be in the limelight. He got a bruise and he is out for 2 weeks. So, yeah, there's a lot of discussion that Bamford keeps missing the last few games of the season, Ellis. I'm not 100% sure there's a reason Bamford's doing that. But I guess the big thing, mate, is he's a streaky player when it comes to injuries and performances. And after that Borough game where he probably had his best game this season, you were really hoping for an end of season spring from him, weren't you? Obviously, he's got 3 goals in 11, so he wasn't on a hot streak. And fans like me were calling for him to be changed, really. But at that point, you're looking at it now, and after that Borough game, we needed him, didn't we? Big time. And it looks like, I mean, Daniel Farke said in his press conference that he's still not able to stretch his leg fully. So it looks like he's probably going to be out for the full campaign, doesn't it?
Yeah. What is the Dan James situation like as well? Is he also Bamford's entirely his career has consisted of when he's playing, get rid of him. When he's not playing, we remember the season when under Bielsa, when Bielsa got sacked, we were missing Phillips, Cooper, and Bamford, and that was justification. Everyone was like, if we had Bamford, we'd be fine. And then Bamford comes back and he's not good enough. The fan base will never not flip flop on it, and it must be so confusing for him as a player. Being like, what is going on?
Yeah, yeah, it must be. It must be. I mean, I'm interested to. I was speaking on Joe's show earlier on. I'm interested to hear what your perspective is on. Obviously, just an individual player, but it kind of splits the fan base at this moment in time. Illan Meslier. Obviously, I don't know. Obviously, you know the Golden Glove, a fair few clean sheets this season, but I think there's a few problems there from my perspective, Alice, and I think a fair few fans. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it's really weird. It felt like that, but during the winning streak, we got the Iceman thing was going on. People were really happy with him.
Yeah,
I don't know what. I remember that game against Arsenal under Bielsa when his distribution was phenomenal in the cup, and he came in and was like, "Oh, this is the man." Doesn't really feel like he doesn't fill you with confidence in the air or anything like that. I think you can't start Darlow. You can't do it. You can't start. And the Clayson shouts like, no, like just please. He's our goalkeeper now for the playoffs. I think if we go up or don't go up, I think we don't go up, he probably moves. I think he'll probably get a move to someone who plays in Europe, is what I imagine. Whether it's justified or not, doesn't matter. But I think if we go up, we probably should be replacing him, which is weird because he's had a really good season statistically. But when you watch it with your eyes, but also what I will say is if someone goes through one-on-one, we saw it, I think it might have been Smallbone early on in the game the other day. Maybe not Smallbone, but I back him on a one-on-one. Like I'm really confident when someone goes through one-on-one that Meslier will save it. It's just the other stuff that's not been so good.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, you know, he's a confidence player, isn't he, Ellis? And I think this is maybe a slight worry as well, maybe of mine, that youth mixed with you naturally, unless you're a bit of an assassin like Somerville, it seems like he is. A lot of these players at Leeds United, and in all fairness, they don't have to just be youngsters, but it does sort of attribute more with youngsters, are confidence players. And it feels like, you know, you've got someone in net there with Illan Meslier who's not really had someone else, you know, with him to really push him and really feed as competition, act as competition. I think the last person who acted as competition for him was Kiko Casilla, and we know how that turned out. But I feel like if you've got someone there to push him, maybe you'd have seen a little bit more development when it came to Illan.
Yeah, I think that as well. And I think also like Big Sam putting Joe Ruthless in instead of him is also really interesting. But yeah, I think it's a good shout. I think if there was even bringing another person to be number one and you see what happens, I think you see with the Raya Ramsdale thing. Nothing we're going to happen. Even if you bring on someone on Mellier's level, they're both going to be competing for the same shirt. I think it's not a bad shout to do at all. It's just I wish his distribution was what it was when it happened. I know we do the goal kicks everyone does now where you pass it to the centre half anyway, so you don't really get to see it. But I just think, I don't know, he doesn't fill me with much confidence, but I don't know. What are you going to do? What can we do? You can't, it was a championship. We can't be strong in every position.
That's it, mate. You're right. And I think, you know, finishing with a positive, always try to do a bit of a sandwich, Ellis. We'll try to do a bit of positive at the start, maybe a little bit of criticism and a positive to end on. Leeds have the best squad in this four for me. They have the best squad in this four, closely contested potentially, well, obviously by Southampton, but I think Leeds on their day have probably been more impressive in my opinion than Southampton on their day. So we should be going into this with a bit of confidence. Obviously, the mentality is a bit of a problem at the minute. We've hit a real iceberg, but going into it, mate, I've said it earlier on today that I think a draw out of this would be a good result for Leeds. Obviously, a 2-3-0 win would be nice as well. But I feel like Norwich have got a few decent players. Johnny Rowe, Sarah, Josh Sargent's been playing well this season as well. I think they're going to be right up for this one as well. What are you expecting with the game down at Carrow Road, mate? I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I'd take a draw as well, I think. But then, like I said, referencing, just don't capitulate. Don't come back to Elland Road with it being just a nightmare. But like you said, with the whole mentality thing, it's worth noting that if we do get through the semi, then the mentality is going to be on an all-time high because you'll be one game from the Premier League. So it's if you just get through the semi and that mentality thing is gone. Like you've got through the tie and you've proved you can do it. The Norwich side does concern me because since Sargent has came back, they've been a different side. Like he is everything to them. The key is more integral to them than maybe even some of us for us because he's like you've seen them without him and then with him. Without him, they're a mid-table side, and with him, he just gives them that different edge. I think if we go up, he'd probably be one the 49ers might look at because he didn't do it in the Prem, but neither did half of our squad that we're quite happy with. So I don't know. I think take a point, but also wouldn't be. We're so bipolar, right? We could draw, we could get battered, or we could win 3 or 4. Like it's so. Which I think with a playoff, it's always very cagey first leg. So what? 2-2.
2-2. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I'd take it. Yeah, I can see Leeds maybe taking the lead in that one, and then towards the end, Norwich getting back into it. A game of two halves. You can just see Leeds a lot of the time, can't you, Ellis? I feel this season, within the first 10 minutes, you know what Leeds is turning up.
Yeah, just feels like first 10 minutes in every game. I also think as well, the key for the playoffs is because we're playing teams that can play football, and we do better against them. Like across the season, we just have teams that they're going to have to come out. If we go 1-0 up against anyone, we are going to be so set. Like if we go 1 up at Carrow Road and they have to stretch the game, it suits us even more. The first goal in that tie, is so cliche, and I hate myself for saying it, is so massive. The first goal in any playoff tie is ridiculously important. But if we get that first goal at Carrow Road and we have Somerville and Yonto on the break, then I think it could be a decent little night for us.
I think you bang on, mate. And I would say we saw it against Borough, and we've not seen it enough this season, mate. When we pragmatically, we've dominated the ball, and it sounds stupid, doesn't it? You dominate the ball, you win games, but it doesn't always invariably work like that. But almost if you give Norwich the ball, let them sort of try camping our half, and we can just try and obliterate them on the counter attack. Because I don't think we were amazing against Borough. I mean, it's been a glimmer of the performances that we've played recently, obviously with the win. But on the counter attack against Borough, Ellis, against the side, by the way, who were unbeaten and were top of the form table, we obliterated them on pretty much every single counter attack. We should have scored probably 2 or 3 more, and you feel like that is a massive advantage for Leeds. Let the opposition dictate possession, let them have the ball, and then we will invariably counter attack, which will naturally push them back as well.
Yeah, it was really weird against Southampton because that was exactly what you figured we'd try and do, and then we just didn't. We were just pressing really weirdly. The press was so odd against Southampton, and they passed through it just ridiculously easy. So hopefully some lessons learned from that. But it's such a long season mentally. Like,
are you tired, Ellis? Are you tired? I'm tired, mate.
I'm so tired, especially considering there's so much football. There's always so much football all the time. It's never stopping. Watch it. It's going to move. It's just, it is Euros as well. I'm done. I'm mentally exhausted. But get me to Wembley and just let it be the best day of my football life, because it would be.
Oh, mate, we will. We'll have to share a pint as well when we get down there. But Ellis, it has been an absolute pleasure, mate. I'd love to have you on again. If you want to get yourself on a channel, no holds barred, and just talk waffle about Leeds, you're more than welcome to do on here, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Where can people find you if individuals haven't seen you before, which I'd be stunned if they haven't?
So away days on YouTube. I go to a different football game every week, which is awkward when you don't really care about one team.
Yeah, check it out on YouTube, everybody. It's true. I mean, when you care about one team and you've been told that you have to go here, there, and everywhere. Well, hey, listen, Ellis, it's a good career to have, though, mate. It's a good career to have. But, Yeah, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow morning, and we'll see you in a bit. Cheers.